to shared moments, it's a place that feels like family. Discover the joy waiting at Taylorville Estates Assisted Living. Click their icon at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com.
WTIM. Good morning, Central Illinois, and welcome to the WTIM Morning Show on your information station. The show is sponsored by People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first, and Landmark of Taylorville. I'm your host, Reed Kamai. March is National Nutrition Month, and here to talk about National Nutrition Month and all things nutrition is nutrition educator with the St. Louis District Dairy Council, Monica Nyman. Monica, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Of course. Good morning, everyone.
Yes, good morning indeed. So I guess to start off, just talk a little bit about National Nutrition Month and what the campaign's all about.
Sure. This campaign is by the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, and it's celebrated every March. And really, it focuses on the importance of trying to make informed food choices, but also developing healthy eating and physical activity habits. And so every single year, there's a different theme. And so this year's theme is called Discover the Power of Nutrition. And really, it just encourages people to look at how everyday foods kind of work together to support your overall health and well-being. Because, the nutrition of the foods that we're eating, those can really be a powerful tool. Kind of, if you want to think about it as kind of like a tool in the toolbox of either preventing chronic diseases or even sometimes treating chronic diseases. And so the Academy of Nutrition, again, that organization is a trusted source of food and nutrition information. They also offer other things on nutrition and health, whether it's meal planning and prep to choices that can help prevent or manage health conditions. So I would encourage listeners at the end, we'll give you some information about where to go to find that information through the Academy of Nutrition. But it's a wonderful organization that really just focuses on the importance of eating and health.
Yeah, and there's a lot to think about, and it sounds like that's what National Nutrition Month is all about. Now, I understand the campaign actually has some weekly messages. Now, we've had one full week in March already. We're in the middle of the second one. What are those weekly messages as part of National Nutrition Month?
Sure. So week one, it focuses on kind of powering your day with nutrition. And we just encourage listeners to choose healthy foods from all food groups. You might have heard me say in the past, but the more colorful your diet is, the healthier it is. So that is something that you can kind of think about as you're preparing your different types of foods. Try to pick different things. You want to have a variety of nutrients. And then, as a registered dietitian, we do try to steer people away from fad diets because a lot of times those are really just unnecessary restrictions. They're also hard to follow long term, and they don't really teach you anything to be able to maintain that weight loss. Week two, which is find advice backed by science. In today's world, there is so much nutrition information out there from influencers on social media. So really try to make sure that the information you're getting is from an accurate source. Just as a reminder, a registered dietitian in the local area can specialize in your unique needs. And so reach out to your healthcare provider if you're interested in scheduling an appointment with someone. And then later on in the month, we're going to focus on week three, which is stay nourished on any budget. So trying to learn how to cook and prepare meals at home. It's going to save you a lot of money. If you need local resources, you can look into WIC or maybe local food banks. And then week four, finally, is feel good with healthy habits. So this kind of focuses on really home food safety. So making sure that when you're preparing your food or cooking it, you're washing things appropriately to kind of prevent, foodborne illnesses and things like that. Trying to plan in advance so that you are avoiding what we call mealtime stress, where you get home from work and you don't have a plan. And so you reach for something that might not be as good for you. And then finally, including physical activities in a way that works for you. So what works for your schedule? What do you enjoy? What's going to get you motivated to burn off some calories or increase some muscles? Everybody's a little bit different in that area, but we do like to throw in physical activity as well.
And for me, one of the things that stands out about each of these week's themes, it feels very well-rounded in terms of everything. It seems like the folks, running this campaign would want to convey throughout the campaign. Do you feel the same way about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think having a healthy lifestyle has a lot of different, I'll call it puzzle pieces. And so it's not just one thing that you change if you're trying to create a healthier lifestyle. There can be multiple things that kind of work together. And I also like to remind listeners to start small with changes, because even little things over time can really add up to progress, but also can help you stay on track if you're tackling like one thing at a time.
Yeah, and just taking those small steps to make that happen. I like that as well. Now, of course, this National Nutrition Month comes as the updated dietary guidelines for Americans were just recently released. So, just talk a little bit about why National Nutrition Month this year just ties in so well with these new guidelines.
Yeah, so if you're not aware, the dietary guidelines is kind of just really what it stands for, what the title says. It's really guidelines for Americans that we recommend for healthy living, and these are updated. The recommendations are updated every 5 years, and so in the nutrition world, we kind of know this, we anticipate it, we look for the specific changes. I don't know that the regular consumer is necessarily waiting in January for the dietary guidelines to come out, but it's really just kind of a structure on how things are built in our different systems and things like that. But every 5 years, these guidelines come out really to help individuals and families kind of meet their nutrition needs and build healthy eating patterns that are realistic and flexible for everyday life. So in every version that's released, we do typically see a few tweaks that are made. And a lot of that is based on the science, right? We talked about getting your information from an accurate source. We're constantly doing research on nutrition. And so sometimes these guidelines change a little bit because now we have research to back these specific changes. So this version does focus on consuming a little bit more like whole food, or they call it real food, compared to kind of processed foods. But other consistent messages are the same that we've kind of heard in previous versions.
Yeah, and what you were talking about right there at the end about like real food versus processed food. I remember learning some years ago that typically the perimeter of the grocery store, generally speaking, is
Yes.
where more of those real foods are. And judging by what you said just now, it sounds like that's still the case.
Yes, and that's a really simple way to think about grocery shopping. If you are filling your cart full of foods that are kind of in the perimeter of the case, those are the ones that are going to have the least amount of ingredients. They're going to be the most colorful, like what I mentioned earlier. You walk into the grocery store and usually the produce section is staring at you. And so, filling up your cart with all of those different foods, you go from fruits and vegetables to your meats to your dairy, and those are going to be all of the different types of foods that are going to be the healthiest for you that you want to fill your shopping cart with.
You just recited the exact order I get a lot of my stuff in. So that worked out perfectly the way you put that there. So yeah, we were talking a little bit about how the changes for the dietary guidelines sort of fit in with National Nutrition Month. I'd love to learn a little more about what those changes are, and what we can kind of expect to want to be going for with nutrition.
Sure. So just in general, these are some of the different recommendations. Some of these we've heard over and over and over again. So they're kind of basic recommendations for healthy eating, but there are a few little tweaks. So first, it's eat the right amount for you. Everybody has a different calorie level, kind of based on your activity, your body shape, your metabolism, your age, all different kinds of things like that. This version highlights prioritizing protein at every meal. I'm guessing there are a lot of people that are already getting their protein needs met, but a couple different populations like younger women or the elderly might not be getting their protein needs met. So if you're in one of those populations, kind of pay attention to that. Dairy every single day. The dietary guidelines still recommends 3 servings, but this version is including gut health. Okay, so healthy bacteria in the digestive tract specifically. We always talk about eating lots of fruits and vegetables throughout the day, incorporating healthy fats. So there are some fats that are better for you than others. We always talk about whole grains and getting fiber in. So that has stayed the same. The limiting the high processed foods, lots of added sugars or simple sugars. Those are kind of basic nutrition recommendations that dietitians will tell you, but that is highlighted in the dietary guidelines. And then, not surprising, limiting alcohol and salt. So that's kind of just a general list of what the dietary guidelines recommends for regular consumers. So this doesn't mean someone with, heart disease or renal failure or someone with type 2 diabetes necessarily. That's more of a specific meal plan, but these are just kind of some general guidelines.
And of course, everyone is different, so that certainly changes things for individuals. I'm talking right now with Monica Nyman, a nutrition educator with the St. Louis District Dairy Council. Let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll maybe go a little more in depth about applying some of these, and maybe even talk about the recipe of the month if we have time, right here on the WTIM Morning Show on your information station.
Your information station, WTIM.
Tornado baseball and softball, plus playoff games, are on New Country 104.1 this spring. Tune in or listen to the live audio stream of select baseball and softball games, plus playoffs of both teams. Brought to you by
McClure Halberg Insurance, Prairie Farms Dairy, the senior citizens of Christian County, and Taylorville Community Eye Care.
Purple and gold are coming your way. The Taylorville Tornadoes are going to do it today.
The Lady Tornado basketball team are on 96.5 thechill.com again this season. Listen on air or online for Lady Tornado basketball and playoff games, brought to you by the Taylorville Community Credit Union, the Christian County YMCA, Rural Rentals, and Scooters Coffee.
The purple and gold are coming your way. The Taylorville Tornadoes are going to do it today.
Hi, this is Christian County Sheriff Bruce Kettlecamp. I care deeply about public safety and the future of our county. That is why I'm asking you to vote for Jim Baker for Christian County Sheriff. Jim is a proven leader with the integrity, dedication, and experience to lead.
Thank you, Sheriff. This is Jim Baker, and I'm running to be your next sheriff so we can continue our work to protect Christian County. I'm ready for this job on day one, and I would be honored to have your vote Tuesday, March 17th in the Republican primary. Thank you. Paid for by Jim Baker for Christian County Sheriff.
Hi, I'm Drew Peabody with First National Bank on Spresser, and I've got great news for future homeowners. Through the Federal Home Loan Bank's Down Payment Plus program, qualified buyers may receive grant funds to help with their down payment and closing costs. That means less out of pocket and a faster path to owning your home. If rising upfront costs have been holding you back, this program could make all the difference. Give me a call today at 287-2003. Let's open the door to your new home together. First National Bank on Spresser, the quality bank. Equal housing lender.
Carl Krumsick here from Krumsick Monument Company in Taylorville, Illinois. Find out the many services we provide by clicking our icon on the obituaries page of TaylorvilleDailyNews.com.
This is Blaine Cornwell with Prairie State Insurance. To learn more about our products and services, click our icon on TaylorvilleDailyNews.com.
Pana schools provide excellence in education and are rooted in the Pana community. Become a part of Panther Pride and find out the great things happening in Pana schools by clicking their icon at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com.
Jansen's Heating and Air is the home of Dr. Comfort, focusing on customer care for heating and air conditioning across Central Illinois for some 35 years. Find out their services, specials, and coupons by clicking their icon on TaylorvilleDailyNews.com.
WTIM.
Welcome back to the WTIM Morning Show on your information station. The show is sponsored by People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first, and Landmark of Taylorville. I'm your host, Reed Kamai, and I continue my conversation with Monica Nyman, a nutrition educator with the St. Louis District Dairy Council, and we've been talking about National Nutrition Month, which runs all of March. And so we were talking a little bit about what some of the new dietary guidelines are and kind of how that connects with National Nutrition Month. So when it comes to maybe families and their eating habits, how do those new guidelines support sort of those real life eating habits for those folks?
Yeah, so the guidelines, again, just kind of give general recommendations to preparing foods and choosing foods, and kind of the tips that I gave in the previous segment are just some basic guidelines. But there are some different specific things for different populations. So, for example, infants or toddlers or children who are different various age groups, pregnant women, older adults, maybe you're an individual with a chronic disease. Maybe you're a vegetarian or a vegan. There's also some recommendations kind of built into the guidelines for those specific populations. So if you're fit into any of those categories, or if you have kids and you're interested in getting some additional information, I would definitely recommend that you check out the new dietary guidelines. So, but as dietitians, as I mentioned before, we always do recommend starting with small changes. So, one example I'd like to give is if you're currently not eating any fruits and vegetables throughout the day, maybe you start with 1 or 2 a day, just to kind of build into your plan and kind of work your way up over time. Same with maybe water consumption. You're not drinking any plain water. Maybe you're just drinking soda, swapping out one of those cans of soda for a glass of water. Exercise goals, even your dairy intake, if you're not getting any dairy, or maybe 1 serving a day. So again, small changes can really add up to some pretty big results over time. But the reason I like small changes is because then it's easier to maintain.
Yeah. So definitely those small changes, they make a big difference. And, maybe one of those changes, if folks are thinking about taking it up, would be this month's recipe of the month that you folks have published: slow cooker chicken Parmesan veggie subs. That sounds good. Tell me a little about that.
Yeah, so I tried to come up with a recipe that included a lot of these points for the dietary guidelines. So you have a crock pot, so it's kind of a one-pot meal. You have lean chicken breast, so that's your protein. You're adding in a jar of marinara sauce. If you add in vegetables that are finely chopped to the crock pot, they're going to cook down, and you're actually not really going to notice that they're in there. So I put in a small onion, a small zucchini, and some chopped mushrooms. I use my food processor like chopper, so they're really fine. You can add some seasonings in there, like Italian seasoning. I probably added some extra garlic powder, things like that. And so you're going to cook that in your slow cooker, and when it's done, you're going to shred the chicken up, and you're going to put it on whole grain sub rolls. I found some really great ones at the grocery store. They have fiber in them. That's why the whole grain is important. So you put your chicken onto your whole grain sub rolls, and then I put that in the oven and broiled a little bit of mozzarella and Parmesan cheese on top of it. I've already made this recipe 2 different times. My family loves it, especially my teenagers. And so it's great to have leftovers, because you can just pop it in the microwave, heat up the chicken, put it back on the buns, put it in the oven, and toast it. So it doesn't take that long to put together. It's a one-pot meal in the crock pot, and it tastes delicious.
No, it sounds like it. So you've got all of that in the slow cooker, and then you said, so you take it out and then you shred the chicken, which I imagine after it being in the slow cooker is easy to do.
Yes, absolutely. So you're going to cook it. I usually cook it on low if I have like a Saturday where I'm home all day, but you can also cook it on high. It'll take about 3 to 4 hours depending on the heat of your slow cooker. But yeah, the chicken will shred up really fine in that sauce, and then that gives that chicken a lot of flavor, has the added vegetables, and then you're going to put that on your bun and make a hot sandwich.
Oh, that sounds really good. I'll have to try that one out at some point, just like I did with last month's recipe as well. I'll tell you what, Monica, we're at about a minute left. Where can listeners go to find more information about National Nutrition Month, the new guidelines, and of course, you folks at the St. Louis District Dairy Council?
Sure. So National Nutrition Month, you can visit the website eatright.org. If you're interested in checking out the newly released dietary guidelines, the website for that is realfood.gov. And the St. Louis District Dairy Council, you can find our website, stldairycouncil.org. And we are also on social media, Facebook and Instagram, and our handle is STL Dairy Council.
Same places where a lot of those influencers are that you were talking about earlier. So you can get the information as well from the St. Louis District Dairy Council. And Monica Nyman, nutrition educator with that organization, is whom I've been speaking to in this segment. Monica, thank you for coming on.
Absolutely. Have a great day.
Well, you as well. And thank you for listening here on the WTIM Morning Show on your information station. We'll be back with another conversation in about 10 minutes.
The Big 870 WTIM Assumption Taylorville. 96.1 FM Taylorville. 107.